All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our Major League Baseball video here today for Sunday, June 6th. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. If you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally here today, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. Now guys, we're coming fresh off a 3-2 day in our 5 premium sports picks on my Patreon website yesterday. And that's going to improve our record to 7-3 in our last 10 extra daily pick tier package plays on that Patreon page. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick tier package play, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. Now, real quick here, guys, all of the games being featured as our premium selections here today on Patreon, they all start before 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there's a handful of earlier ones going off today. So once again, just as a heads up, our earliest game gets started at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and our latest at 6. Now we currently have over 1,000 members who are currently signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that page is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And with that, guys, we're actually going to start off with the 2 o'clock slate. We're going to start with the D-backs taking on the Brewers, 2:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 250, total 7.5. The Arizona Diamondbacks are plus 210 for some money line cash. And if you like them on the run line, they're minus 105, catching the 1.5. Caleb Smith is the expected starter on the bump for Arizona. Corbin Burnes for Milwaukee. Now, Burnes has struck out 82 batters already, and he comes into today's start with a 2.24 ERA and a .73 whip. Now, Milwaukee is currently in first place in the NL Central. They're tied with the Cubbies atop the division. This Milwaukee pitching staff is in the top 5 in the league in hits allowed and they strike out 10.4 batters a game. Now, they're taking on a D-backs club who's been awful on the road this season. Just 9-24 straight up as the away team. 2-8 straight up in their last 10 ball games at any location. Arizona's currently tied with Baltimore for the fewest wins in Major League Baseball. They're also dead last in the majors in runs allowed. Now, total-wise, 8 out of Arizona's last 10 ball games got over the number. Meanwhile, Milwaukee's gone 4-3 to the over in their last 7 home games themselves. 19-12 to the over at Miller Park for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 1.5 in the over 7.5 runs. Next matchup, Twins versus the Royals, 2:10 p.m. East. The Kansas City Royals are minus 135 with the total at 9.5 flat. Brady Singer for Kansas City. Bailey Ober for Minnesota. Now, Ober's making his second spot start of the season. He gave up 4 runs in 4 innings in his debut against the White Sox. Minnesota's currently a dozen games below 500. And they find themselves in last place in the AL Central. Now, Minnesota lost 4 out of their last 5 contests, and they rank dead last in runs allowed on the road. They're taking on a Kansas City club who's in the top 10 in hits. Meanwhile, Salvi Perez, he's hit 14 homers and knocked in 40. Meanwhile, Carlos Santana's hit double-digit homers himself, along with 43 walks. Now, the Royals have won 5 out of their last 6 ball games, and their lineup's in the top 3 in the league and fewest strikeouts at the plate. When it comes to the total in this one, Kansas City's gone 5-0 to the over in their last 5 home games at Kauffman Stadium. 90% to the over in their last 10 outings at any location. Meanwhile, 4 out of Minnesota's last 6 road games got over the total themselves. 70% to the over in their last 10 at any location as well. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals minus 135 in the over 9.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Tigers versus the White Sox, 2:10 p.m. East. The Chicago White Sox are minus 205, numbers 9. Dylan Cease for Chicago, Jose Urena for Detroit. Now Urena's 2-4 with a 4.14 ERA and a 1.44 WHIP. Detroit is currently 10 games below 500. They've gotten the W in only 11 of 30 road games. This Tiger lineup's in the bottom 5 in scoring, dead last in strikeouts on the road. The Tigers are scoring only 3.7 runs a game. Now they're taking on a Chicago club who's been awesome on their home field. 22-10 straight up at Guaranteed Rate Field, and that's the most home wins in the majors. Chicago's also in the top 5 in fewest hits allowed at home, and they find themselves giving up just 3.1 runs a game at Guaranteed Rate Field. Dylan Cease is taking the mound here today, 3-2 record with a 3.79 ERA and 68 strikeouts. Now the White Sox are now 3 games ahead of Cleveland for first place in the AL Central. When it comes to the number in this one, Chicago's 5-2 to the under in their last 7 at home, 20-12 to the under on their home field for the entire season. Meanwhile, 8 out of Detroit's last 10 stayed under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox -1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next contest, Reds, Cards, 215 East. The St. Louis Cardinals are -120 with the total at 8.5 runs. John Gant for the Cards, Wade Miley for Cincinnati. Now Miley's 5-4 on this season with a 3.26 ERA and a 1.13 WHIP. The Reds have won 5 out of their last 6 ball games. With 3 of those victories coming against this very St. Louis club, they can complete the 4-game sweep here today with a win. Now the Reds currently rank in the top 5 in the league in hits. They're led by Nick Castellanos, who's hitting .368 with a dozen homers and a 1.066 OPS. As a matter of fact, Castellanos is currently leading the majors in batting average, and he ranks in the top 3 in OPS. Meanwhile, Jesse Winkers hit 14 home runs and knocked in 31 himself. Winkers also second in the majors in batting average and 3rd in OPS himself. Now they're taking on a Cardinals club who's just 1-6 straight up in their last 7 contests. They gave up 4 runs or more 6 times during that stretch. And I'll tell you what, as impressive as John Gant's ERA is thus far, just keep in mind he's walked 34 batters, and he comes into today's contest with a 1.52 WHIP. Now the St. Louis pitching staff collectively walks more batters than any other team in the majors. Gant certainly helping that particular cause. They're also in the bottom 5 in striking batters out at home. Now, total-wise, St. Louis is 18-10 to the under on their home field. Cincinnati's 7-5 to the under in their last dozen divisional games on the road themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Cincinnati Reds +$1 and the under 8.5. Next contest, Rays versus the Rangers, 2:35 Eastern Standard Time. The Tampa Bay Rays are -$1.25, numbers 8 flat. Michael Wacha for the Rays, Dane Dunning for Texas. Now Dunning's just 2-4 with a 4.67 ERA and a 1.42 WHIP. The Rangers are also 14 games below 500, and they have the second fewest wins in the American League. The Rangers have scored 3 runs or less in 7 out of their last 9 ball games, and they rank at the bottom 5 in the league in home scoring. Now they're taking on a first-place Tampa club who has the most road wins in the majors with 22 of them. The Rays are currently leading the majors in road scoring. Austin Meadows has hit 14 home runs and knocked in 46. The Slugger's currently 3rd in the bigs in RBI. Meanwhile, catcher Mike Zunino, he's hit a dozen homers and knocked in 24 himself. Now, scoring-wise, Tampa's 22-10 to the over when traveling. They also went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games at any location. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays -$1.25 in the over 8 runs. Next contest, A's versus the Rockies, 3:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Colorado Rockies are -120, totals 11 flat. German Marquez for Colorado, James Kaprielian for Oakland. Now Kaprielian is 2-0 with a 2.95 ERA and a 1.13 WHIP. Oakland's currently in first place in the AL West. And they have a record of 18-8 straight up when they travel. This Oakland pitching staff is in the top 3 in fewest runs allowed on the road. They're giving up only 3.6 runs a game when they bat first. They're taking on a Rockies club who's 13 games below 500 and strikes out fewer batters than any other team in the majors. The Rockies are also in the bottom 5 in runs allowed. German Marquez, he's just 3-5 on the season with a 4.13 ERA and a 1.39 WHIP. And when it comes to the number in this one, Colorado's 70% to the under in their last 10 ball games. Oakland 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Oakland A's plus $1 and the under 11 runs. Next matchup, Cubs versus the Giants, 4:05 Eastern Standard Time. The Chicago Cubs are minus 115 on the road, totals 8 runs. Kyle Hendricks for the Cubs, Johnny Cueto for San Francisco. Now Cueto's 4-1 with a 3.45 ERA. San Francisco is currently in first place in the NL West. They find themselves 16 games above 500. The Giants are currently 18-8 straight up at Chase Field, and their pitching staff gives up the fewest walks per 9 in the majors. They're taking on a Chicago club who's been victorious in only 11 out of 27 road games. The Cubbies have also lost their last 3 straight, with all 3 of those losses coming against San Francisco. They're looking to avoid a 4-game sweep here this afternoon. This Cubs pitching staff is in the bottom 3 in the majors in hits allowed away from home. Kyle Hendricks comes into his start today with a 4.62 ERA and a 1.40 WHIP. Now, total-wise, the Cubs went 60% to the under in their last 10 ball games, 35-23 to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants minus 105 and the under 8 runs. Next contest, Mariners versus the Angels, 4:07 Eastern first pitch. The LA Angels are minus 160, numbers 9 juice to the under. Patty Sandoval for Los Angeles, Logan Gilbert for Seattle. And despite a little bit of a rough patch over the past few days, Seattle's still been victorious in the 8 out of their last 13. Now, the Mariners are also doing a pretty nice job cashing in on the run line in these divisional games. They're 15-11 against the number against the AL West this season. They're also taking on an Angels club who's got Patty Sandoval on the bump here today. Still looking for that first win of 2021. The lefties coming into today's start with a 1.45 WHIP. The Angels are currently 4 games below 500. And they have a losing home record against an AL opponent. This LA pitching staff walks more batters at home than any other club. They're also in the bottom 5 in runs allowed at home as well. Now, total-wise, LA's 20-10 to the over at Angel Stadium, 8-5 to the over against a divisional opponent at home as well. Meanwhile, Seattle's gone 18-11 to the over as the away team themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Seattle Mariners plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs. Next contest, Mets versus the Padres, 4:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The San Diego Padres are minus 165, total 7.5. Chris Paddock for San Diego, Marcus Stroman for New York. And despite some pretty strong numbers out of Stroman, he's just 4-4 thus far in the season. And the Mets continue to struggle away from their home field. Now, the Mets have won just 13 out of 31 road games, and they're scoring only 3.6 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a San Diego club who's played very well at Petco Park. 20-11 straight up on their home field, and they're first in the league in home strikeouts. This Padre pitching staff is fanning over 11.4 batters a game as the home team. They also have Chris Paddock on the mound here today, who struck out 42 batters this year and has a 1.18 WHIP. Now, total-wise, San Diego's 19-9 to the under at home when taking on a National League opponent. The Mets have gone 25-19 to the under against the National League themselves. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres minus 165 and the under 7.5. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Red Sox versus the Yankees, 7:08 Eastern start time. The New York Yankees are minus 150 with a total at 9.5 runs. Domingo Germán for New York. Garrett Richards for Boston. Now, Richards got himself 4 wins thus far in the season. 3.75 ERA for the righty. The Red Sox are currently 4.5 games ahead of the Yankees in the division, and they actually play their best baseball on the road. The Red Sox are an impressive 10-2 straight up in their divisional games away from home. The Red Sox are in the top 10 in striking batters out on the road. And they allow only 3.9 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a Yankees club who's had a rough go of things in divisional play this year. They've won only 6 of 18 home games against the AL East this year. This Yankees lineup is in the bottom 3 in scoring, bottom 3 in home strikeouts at the plate. I believe it was just 6 of 18. Yeah, 6 of 18 home games in the division that they've been victorious in. But anyway, New York's currently striking out 9.8 times a game in front of their own fans. When it comes to the total in this one, New York's 20-12 to the under at home, 37-22 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Sox are 17-12 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox plus 1.5 and the under 9.5 runs. Of that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Milwaukee minus 1.5 over 7.5 runs. Kansas City minus 135 over 9.5. Chicago White Sox minus 1.5 under 9 runs. Cincinnati plus $1 under 8.5. Tampa Bay minus $1.25 over 8 runs. Oakland A's plus $1 under 11. San Francisco Giants minus 105 under 8 runs. Seattle Mariners plus 1.5 over 9. San Diego minus 165 under 7.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video here today, just one final reminder that we are hitting at 70% in our last 10 extra daily pick tier package plays on my Patreon website. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox plus 1.5 and the under 9.5. Now, guys, if you found yourself really enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. And if you're new here today or this week, please feel free to welcome yourself to the Brock Page family by hitting that subscribe button as well. I'd love to connect with you on a daily basis. It's a great community and certainly a lot of fun in the comments section. So please feel free to hit that subscribe button and say hello to me in the comments. But most importantly, guys, that's going to do it for me. Gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Now, real quick, if you guys do decide to get a Patreon package here today, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today, you're going to get access to that content all the way until the end of June. So just a reminder there. But anyway, guys, got to thank you for joining me here. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.